right, welcome back to Next Normal. Now with an interesting presentation with the title Build or Buy or Partner. We have three great speakers. First of all, Francesca Wuttke, Orchid from ODAIA, and Lineen from BMS. I would kind of like to ask you to introduce to the audience who you are, what is your background, and how bullish are you on this very interesting theme. So let's start with you, Francesca.
Well, hi, everyone, and thank you for having me again, Dario. My name is Francesca Wuttke. I'm the CEO and founder of Lineen, which is a digital therapeutics platform that will bring pain management to preschool children with cancer. Prior to that, I was Almirall's Chief Digital Officer, and before then, leading European investments in digital health for Merck's Global Innovation Fund.
Thanks a lot. I would also like to ask to the panelists, if you're not speaking, please mute yourself so that we avoid any kind of echoes and background noises. John?
Yeah, hey Dario, can you see me okay? I'm not seeing the video on my side. I'll try and fix that.
Well, I see the presentation on my screen, so I certainly can't, but maybe Francesca and Orchid can confirm if they can see you.
John, we can't see you, but we can hear you.
Well, that's
okay. I'll go with this and try and fix the video. But hi everyone, John Lineen from BMS. I'm a senior director there, working in engagement planning across immunology and cardiovascular. The views today are my own. I will try and get off and get on video. And very, very happy to be here. Got 20 years in this space within agency, within GSK, Bristol Myers, so looking forward to learning more in this talk.
Fantastic. And Orchid.
Hi, everyone. And Francesca, congratulations on your incredible venture. It sounds absolutely amazing and it fills this incredible need. So I'm humbled by what you're doing.
Thanks so much, Orchid.
You're welcome. My name's Orchid. I work for ODAIA. I'm the VP of Commercial for Life Sciences. Most of my career has been in pharma and biotech. I spent about 12 years in the marketing side for Canadian and US affiliates, and the other half was in sales management. And so I've recently, I would say in the last year and a half, moved to the AI space and currently working at ODAIA.
Thanks a lot. Let's deep dive the conversation. So first, what does digital transformation mean to you? So what is the practical way to look at this for an organization from a pharma perspective, from a solution vendor perspective, and so on? So maybe we can start with Orchid, and then we can do Francesca and do.
Sure. I mean, it's such a big term. It's so thorny. And to be frank, though, this is the reason I joined ODAIA. So for me, the essence of this term is really less so about the back office and all the digital tools that we have, and more so about trying to capture this incredible need to capture the human need to use these digital tools. I've spent years, as I just mentioned, in pharma, trying to make sure that sales reps and sales managers kept that patient in the center, which was really a person and a human. And so now if I can replace that thought, it's really to keep the pharma humans in the center. So by that, I mean the people who are the closest to that, the sales reps, the sales managers, the marketing folks. No offense to all the other folks, but for me, that is the passion that really means digital transformation, because it really is something that can augment their intelligence. I think there's a lot of fear around digital and AI. And what I'd like to bring out with what we're doing at ODAIA is really, what we're trying to do is really help and personalize what our sales reps and marketing folks are doing, so that they can, do better things for better outcomes for their patients.
Thanks a lot. Francesca, what it means for you, especially since you're coming from pharma now in your own venture. So I think you can compare those processes from a different angle, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it looks like I might be frozen, but I am still here. So, it is, I agree, Orchid, a very broad term. I think in the truest sense, it's really trying to future-proof your organization and to have people start thinking and working in a very different way to solve for the strategic business problems that you may have. I think within our industry, we're kind of late to the game. So it's really important that we we try to pick up some momentum and accelerate that pace of change to really better serve our patients and physicians who are our key stakeholders.
Thanks a lot. And John?
Yeah, for me, it's been a long journey trying to look at how we better use digital data analytics to develop better, overall customer experiences, really help our customers with their jobs to be done and what they're trying to achieve throughout their journey. So the customer experience mindset has been talked about a lot on these conferences, but yeah, really trying to help our customers, our patients, our healthcare professionals get the right information they need at the right time, which is very challenging and keeps us very busy, especially during these times.
Thanks a lot, John. We're also having a poll question. Just let me share my screen, which is when advancing digital competencies at your company, do you tend to build, buy off-the-shelf solutions or partner with companies? Three possible answers: build, buy, or partner. Please proceed with the answers to that poll question in the state section, and on the polls you can provide your answer. So I will also answer on that. I submitted my response, and let's see the result. Don't be shy. You can vote. You can vote. So okay. Let's see. Let's wait for another couple of seconds. Okay, show results. It's 50-50. So actually, no, it's 80% partner, 10% buy, and 10% build. How would you comment on that? Who would like to go first? Orchid, I see you are laughing, so please.
You're putting me on the spot. So of course I'm a little bit biased here because we as a company are selling products. But we also help build products. So in some cases, we're helping on the build, but it's more on the selling side. I guess, in terms of build, I don't think there is a correct answer. I think that's a bit of a trick question. Different companies are at very different stages, and I won't speak for the pharma folks here, but I have to say that, the answer is you could do all of the above. And one of the things we run into, very large companies are really trying to build most of it. And in this case, you're often competing with much smaller companies, maybe a biotech company that is in the exact space that you're competing in. And they're going to be more agile and they're going to buy. So there's this whole thing about speed and agility that sometimes comes into play if you're building everything. So I would say it's definitely a combination. I'll pass it over to Francesca.
Thanks a lot, Francesca.
I think it really depends on what it is that we're trying to solve for within pharma. My experience is that if it's a software build, pharma is very good at developing drugs, but in my experience at least, has not been great at building software. So, my view is, why reinvent the wheel if people have built it successfully, validated it in the clinic? Why not leverage that expertise and partner with them? Rather than starting from scratch in an area where you may not have the expertise. So, my view is we should be partnering as pharma with startups or smaller companies in the space that have answered the specific questions that we're after. I think over time, that partnership and those collaborations can cause more of a build. But it'll be building from a partnered base, I'll say.
Thanks a lot, Francesca. And John?
Yeah, and really within a large global matrix company, it's all the above. We're looking to build out the best team we can based on hiring the best talent, also contracting talent, also partnering with our digital agencies, media agencies, and that's part of our extended talent network. Also looking internally, we're partnering across many matrix teams, including IT and capabilities and brands and partnerships. Obviously, there's major vendors that we're partnering with. They always bring new solutions, new ideas. So it's really all the above for me, and just trying to align the large number of players to create that experience for our customers.
Thanks a lot, John. Next question. How does Pharma actually decide to build, buy, or partner the digital tools and platforms? John, let's remain with you since you're not muted.
Yeah, I think obviously there's processes and internal groups when you're looking at capabilities and how capabilities are going to advance. Internally at past companies and this company, we have teams doing test and learns, running pilots, running different experiments with new partners. That takes time. So we're always looking for processes that streamline that onboarding through procurement, through legal, through regulatory. So it's not an easy challenge and does take some initiative to drive for new partnerships, but there's definitely processes that we're looking at to speed that up over time.
Thanks a lot. Orchid?
Yeah, I mean, it's related to what we said earlier, but I do think it's important to highlight what Francesca said. It's really the business problem. Digital is so massive in an organization. So if we could, in my world, we're really talking about the operational efficiency part, commercial side, not, digital to create new medications. That's a completely different, interest to build that inside. But the way I would look at it is there are things that pharma companies do that are very similar, in fact, identical. Every pharma company thinks they're unique with a POA or with the way they're change managing right now, sales reps out there in the hybrid world. Those things are all very scalable things. If you put all of pharma across, of course, not all pharma is going to hold hands and do this together. However, if you work with a company like ODAIA, we try to build those things we're trying to solve similar problems. So if the problem is, for instance, engagement in the world of the pandemic, where you have physicians literally telling us, even post-pandemic, we don't want to see as many reps. We want to really do things virtually and see reps. That is a problem that's really faced by every single pharma out there. Those are things that we can work on as a smaller company to bring solutions that are more scalable versus having those bespoke kind of individual solutions that we see pharma try to sort of solve the problem on their own all over the place. And often I sit there going, you guys should be like collaborating on this. So that's where I think it depends on the problem. But if the problem is very unique to your company, of course you want to own that, and all the IP that goes around that and so on.
Thanks a lot. And Francesca.
Yeah, no, I fully agree, Orchid. I think it really comes down to what problem you're solving for and how important that problem is to the key stakeholders within the organization. So, if you ask people if they want a certain solution, and here I'm talking more about digital health versus digital marketing, and they say, yeah, we'd really love to have this, and then you ask them to put budget on it, and they're not willing to do so because then it turns out it's not a priority within their organization. So make sure you're solving for something that's really keeping people up at night, and also that they're willing to pay for. And if it's an expertise that's outside of traditional pharma, I think then that's when the decision is made to find an appropriate partner. I would recommend, though, to heavily landscape the area to find out that the startup or the vendor or the solution provider is really for solving for your specific need, and not that you're trying to throw cool tech at a problem that may or may not exist. I can't tell you how many times I've received emails, on a Monday morning, hey, this weekend I was at a dinner party and my brother-in-law's friend has this really cool startup. Can we use them? I don't know. Like, what do you want to use them for? What are we trying to solve for here? And then once we have a problem identified, let's make sure that we're putting the right solution at it, and that the team is the right one as well to collaborate and have a long-term partnership with pharma.
Thanks a lot, Francesca. Let's move forward to our second pool question, which is how comfortable are you in partnering with small startup companies? We have three possible answers: comfortable, never done this before, and never done this before, but curious to learn. So please proceed once again to the section, and we are waiting for your answer. I will also provide my response as well. Okay. Let's wait for another couple of seconds. Have you also provided the answers in the meantime, Francesca, Orchid, John?
Yeah.
Okay, this will be interesting. So let's show the results. So 62% comfortable. We already did this before. 12%, or actually now 10%, never done this before, not comfortable, and 30% never done this before, but curious. Comments?
You know, I think we have a lot to learn from small companies and leveraging on my past experience, not my current. You know, we in the 3 years that I was chief digital officer, we partnered with about 27 startup companies. So, you know, that was important not just to solve for our strategic business issues, but also to share a bit of a different mindset across our team members. You know, startups have a very different way of thinking, way of working. As part of our startup accelerator, we paired our internal team with the external startup team so that they can get a little bit of that entrepreneurial spirit and different way of working. But working with startups also requires you to rethink some of your internal processes. So we worked with legal and procurement to create a different path for approval from a vendor perspective, because a small startup can't manage a 400-page contract, nor do they have the bandwidth to do so or the budget to hire lawyers to do so. So, you know, we thought about what realistically could happen in the context of a contract, you know, and do we need 10 reps and warrants 10 years out when the startup probably won't even exist? So I think a bit of pragmatism and just a reality check on the likelihood of risk is important. That being said, you know, you should also look into the startup or the small tech company's financials to make sure that they're solvent enough to take you through the lifetime of the project you're looking to collaborate on.
Thank you, Francesca. Orchid, John?
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, so I haven't partnered per se with startup companies in the roles on the corporate side. We have tried to bring in a number of digital analytics firms and customer experience consultants, and also looking at voice of customer analytics companies, content analytics companies. So I'd say they're slightly bigger than startups, but still takes sometimes a year of education and patience and you know, defining the value prop for why we need to measure voice of customer, why we need to look at content analytics a bit differently. And I have had success in previous companies kind of introducing these kind of middle-sized players and scaling them out across the company. But it does sometimes, you have to take a year to plan it out, think through the change management, think through the legal regulatory processes, and really identify that great business case where you'll show some results in introducing this new partner.
Thanks a lot, John. And Orchid.
Again, you know, being on this side, I think the key thing is really recognizing that a startup grows super fast, but still not as big and giant as some of you guys. So, for instance, this last time I was on this on Next, you know, we've doubled the size of our company. Now, the majority of those people are sitting in engineering and AI, but at the same time, you know, we grow fast, and that size, that growth, and that chaos and the change, you know, we have to do that with our customers. So it's a different way of working with a startup than it is, let's say, working with a consulting company to try to solve a problem. So, and again, as I mentioned, we try to solve similar problems for many different pharma. So the extent of being very bespoke versus really off the shelf is something that you have to be a little bit more comfortable with, I think, if you're working with startups, because over time they can't just be ideating and changing their prototypes, you know, all the time. So that's the thing that you're dealing with. You know, like, again, going back to Francesca's thing, if you have a certain problem and it fits that startup's sweet sauce, then you got to move fast. And of course, the legal stuff would be great if it's if it's not as long as some of the stuff I remember in pharma. But this is a great diagram that I'll pass over to Francesca, because she actually has a lot of input into this and can explain this much better than me in terms of the 12 commandments for startup and corporate relationships.
Yeah, this grew out of a session with a group of pharma execs, investors, as well as ecosystem players and startups as well. And we kind of sat around and thought about, what has worked well historically and what hasn't. And some of these seem basic, but they came up so frequently in discussions with all of those players that is important to get them down. One of the biggest ones, I think, from a corporate side is, if something's not going to work out, say no quickly. Don't string the startup along, because they may really be reliant on that potential deal to move forward or to get a new investment round. So just to be clear with them, if it's not gonna work out, they'll be happy you did in the end, even if it might be a tough conversation. I think the other thing is to both be clear on the objectives and the ability to meet those objectives. So if the pharma has a question that they're looking to solve for, the startup has to be really honest with themselves and with the corporate. Can they really solve for this problem? And I think the shared responsibilities are really important. We talked a lot when we did this with along with Health Excel about the importance of kindness in a relationship, and it seems almost basic, and it should be sort of pervasive in personal and professional lives. But that aspect of respect and of a collaborative approach, it really defined the partnerships that went well. And getting to know the key stakeholders and making sure that you were talking to the key stakeholders if from a startup perspective, because very often they have an internal champion that doesn't have any decision-making capability. And then, they're just kind of going around in circles feeling like something's likely to happen. But, if you don't have the right people sitting around the table making the decisions, it's not likely to move forward. So, I think this is a kind of useful framework and approach in terms of drawing from the successes and failures that historically we've experienced as an industry.
Thanks a lot, Francesca. Another cool question. What have been the biggest barriers your company has faced when deploying digital tools for sales and marketing teams? 4 possible answers. So please, again, proceed to the poll section, which I will also do. Let's provide answers. That's a tough one. Okay, let's wait for another couple of seconds. Okay, voting is in progress. Can you see the answers? So 37% is innovation within a business use case, which was actually also my choice as well. How would you comment on that?
Maybe I'll jump in. I think that's really critical. If you want to move forward with a project, but you don't know how you can deploy it internally, it's kind of dead in the water. So, and it goes back to the making sure you're solving for a problem that someone cares about solving, and not just innovating for the sake of it or trying to introduce tech, because you'll likely I think if you innovate without a business case, you're likely to face a lot of internal bureaucracy. So I think those go quite hand in hand, because you're not going to get the right level of buy-in that you should. And I think what becomes clear is when you do get that buy-in, it's likely due to the fact that you're unburdening someone within the organization, someone or some group within the organization.
Thanks a lot. Orchid, John, short comment on that?
Yeah, no, 100% agree. The biggest one we see is exactly that. You know, we're an innovative company. We look and act sexy out there in terms of the things we do, and people get excited. And Francesca mentioned it. Sometimes we get pulled in. It's like, oh, check these guys out. And we're sometimes sitting either in front of the wrong person to move this forward, or we don't quite get what business problem they're trying to solve. They just kind of, you know, and to get to that point, we have to talk to other people. So that is the hardest thing. If you start this process without really knowing the problem you're going to solve, you will waste a lot of time, and of course, on both sides.
Exactly. John, any comment?
No, I would agree with what was said. It was well stated. I would just say from the corporate side, you know, doing things at speed is always a challenge. So just keeping the momentum, keeping alignment on the business case, and trying to test and learn things at speed is a challenge, you know, with the matrices and the number of steps involved. So that's one unique aspect our industry has.
Thanks a lot. In my opinion, the most critical and important question, and this is what role does senior leadership have for the success of digital transformation in organizations? And I suggest maybe we can start with you, Orchid, because you have this very great helicopter view by working with different type of companies. So what would be the unique answer?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's massive, the role of the C-suite and the buy-in. You know, when we talk to those folks, it's really all about the operational efficiencies that we bring in. Are we saving people's time? Time is money. Are we allowing drug reps, for instance, to be more face-to-face rather than doing analysis paralysis? Those all become operational efficiencies. There's the whole impact on the business. What's the ROI? All of that. But I do want to go further than senior leadership. You know, we've faced many situations where the senior leader brought us in and we still get stuck. And it's because you really need champions at all levels, because the senior leadership may have may have perspectives on this, but they're often very, very far away from the reality of what the true doers in the digital space are trying to create, and they are very far away from the people actually taking these tools to customers. And unfortunately, what happens then is they have a vision of what this could be, and because of their seniority, push certain things down the organization. And the champions need to be there at those levels as well to make sure they check and balance what the senior leadership is thinking the problem is. Because the problem, you know, we talked about this, the use cases, if it's like an easy thing to come to. In a large organization like BMS, John, you've got 8,000 use cases, right? And we're not talking about a general use case, let's make people more efficient. It would be awesome to get a use case that says, you know, for this particular medication, I'm trying to find a patient trigger that's going to help me, let's say, digitize the patient trigger so that I can see those physicians faster. Those type of use cases are what help. So really down to that nitty gritty, you need champions at all levels. You need champion definitely on the marketing brand level. You need the sales operations, digital folks to really be bought in. And I would say we really push to have the sales reps, the people on the ground, from the very start, or almost the very start. We get resistance on that. People say, oh, I don't want to mess up the sales organization. I don't want to distract them and so on. But if you don't do that early enough, we build things that they can't use. And so there's that balance of, you know, at all levels, making sure that you're not just making this top down, but it's very organic. But yeah, senior leadership is really important. I'll pass it on to John.
We are here with less than 1 minute, so I would kindly appreciate a very short answer.
Yeah, real quick, being in multiple large multinational corporations, being part of a global rollout, the senior leadership really helps set the vision and culture, so that, you know, culture of testing and learning, and also some air cover as you're rolling out global platforms to many markets. I found that really beneficial in past life. Francesca, last word.
I'll just say it's everything you said is true. It's super important to have senior management involved as well as champions on the ground who are actually operationalizing whatever improvements you're making. But middle management is equally as important, because that's often a stopper. So it's kind of the Oreo cookie. You have the top management, you have the digital champions, but you need that squishy layer in between as well.
Thanks, Francesca. And we all know that everyone loves Oreo, so
nice ending.
Exactly. By the way, you received a lot of questions, so if you have time, you can individually reply to the people. You can see this under the stage chat section. Was a pleasure, Francesca, Orchid, John, and hopefully see you also one day in person as well. Take very good care.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Dario. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.